for Chapter 1, Section 1.8, an Introduction to Functions, Part 1. So again, we're going to start off with some definitions. So our first definition here is function. A function is a rule that establishes a relationship between two quantities. Okay. We know that there is exactly one output for each input. Okay, so what is an input and an output? An input is a value in the domain of a function. In algebra, we usually represent this by x, and the output is a value in the range of a function, usually represented by y. Okay, so again, we're going to look at domain and range today, along with functions and whether something is a function or not. We're going to decide whether it's a function or not by using an input-output table. This is the table used to describe a function. By listing the outputs for several inputs. Our last words are domain and range. So what exactly is the domain and the range? The domain is a collection of all input values. Again, listed above, we usually call those x. A range, on the other hand, is a collection of all outputs. Oops. Oh, yeah. Try that again. There we go. Usually represented by y. Okay. So look at these a little bit closer in just a second. So let's look at our first set of problems here, which is to make an input-output table for the function. And it's going to want us to use 0, 1, 2, and 3 as the domain. So an input-output table, okay, it may have looked like a T-chart to you in the past. Okay. We can write on the top input on the left side and output on the right side. Okay. Remember, we could also list those as x and y. So for the input, it wants us to use 0, 1, 2, and 3. So these are the numbers that we're going to input into our equation, and then we'll get whatever we get out, we'll put in the output side. So let's write our equation over here so we have some more room. So our first number is 0. So I'm going to put in 0 for x. So wherever there's an x, I'm going to take it out and I'm going to put in 0. So for the first one, I have 2, parentheses 0, so I'm going to put my 0 in there for x, plus 3. And then we're going to simplify. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. So that's going to go in our output. So when I put in 0, I get out 3. So we're going to continue the same thing with all of our numbers. So our next number here is 1. So again, where there's x, I'm going to put in 1. So instead of putting in 0 this time, we're going to put in 1. We figure it out. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3 is 5. So that's our output. When I put in 1, I get out 5. Next number here is 2. So we're going to put in 2 this time. So instead of putting in 0 or 1, we're going to put in 2. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7. Our last number here is 3. So we're going to put in 3. 2 times 3 plus 3. Simplify that. 6 plus 3 is 9. Oops, let's make that a little prettier. Alright, so let's look at this again. So when I put in 0 here, I got out 3. When I put in 1 here, I got out 5. When I put in 2 here, I got out 7. And when I put in 3 here, I got out 9. So we take and we put each of our numbers into our equation and we solve. Okay, let's try another one here. Scoot down so I have some more room. Let's do, oops, too far. Let's do number 3. We're going to make an input-output table. You could write input-output on the top. I'm going to stick with X and Y. I kind of like that better. So again, we're going to use 0, 1, 2, and 3 because that's what it asks us to. So again, our equation, 9 minus X. So everywhere there's an X, we're going to put in our number. So our first one is 9 minus 0, which gives us 9. So when I put in 0, I get out 9. Next one, 9 minus 1, we get 8. So when I put in 1, I get 8 out. Next one, 9 minus 2, 7. So when I put in 2, I get 7. And my last one is 3. 9 minus 3 is 6. So when I put in 3, I get 6 out. So again, I'm taking and I'm putting all of my numbers in for X, one at a time. My answer goes on the right-hand side. The number on the left-hand side tells me what I'm going to plug in. Let's go through and do number 4 here real quick to make sure you got it. So here's our T-chart, X, Y. You could also write input-output on the top. And it wants us to use 0, 1, 2, and 3. So we go through, and anywhere there's an X, we're going to put in and put our numbers. So 0 first, so 0 plus 5. We simplify and get 5. So when I put in 0, I get out 5. Next, we put in 1. So 1 plus 5 is 6. So when I put in 1, I get out 6. Put in 2. 2 plus 5 is 7. So when I put in 2, I get out 7. Last one. When I put in 3, I get out 8. Okay. So notice it's kind of like a systematic process. I put in one number, I write the answer next to it. Put in the next number, put the answer next to it. Just be careful with your math. Make sure you're following order of operations if you need to. So at this point, I need you to stop and do section 1.8, checkpoint 1.